What is up, Mizzou Nation? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, covering your Missouri Tigers. And today I wanted to make a video talking about why Eli Drinkwitz deserves not just SEC Coach of the Year, but National Coach of the Year honors for this season. Of course, there are plenty of other candidates for National Coach of the Year, and that's an award that is extremely hard to win. There's so many coaches out there that have done a great job this year that have a very strong case to make. But let's start with SEC Coach of the Year and why I think Missouri head coach Eli Drinkwitz at least deserves that. For SEC Coach of the Year, there's not nearly as much competition. I really think it's between about 3 or 4 coaches, and that would be Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, Eli Drinkwitz, and maybe Lane Kiffin, which is why I say 3 or 4, because I don't really think Lane Kiffin is deserving of the award, but sure, there's still a case to make for him. When making the case for Eli Drinkwitz, you just kind of have to talk about how this season has gone for Missouri and just how truly special it has been. Eli Drinkwitz was a guy that not even 12 months ago, a lot of Missouri fans were questioning, is this guy going to make it? Is he the right one for the job? Is this thing heading in the right direction? And many of those questions were valid. Me personally, I had always been on the side of Eli Drinkwitz needs time to build this program. It takes time at a school like Missouri. People didn't want to admit that. I know a lot of people think rebuilds should be sped up now because of the transfer portal, and the transfer portal is a great resource for coaches, especially like Eli Drinkwitz and a school like Missouri. But at the same time, you can't rely too hard on the portal. And I think one disappointing season should not result in a firing. For Eli Drinkwitz, sure, you were ready to move past the 500 seasons. You were ready to see progress. But I just thought that last year he was so close and a couple of wonky games didn't go his way. I thought last year was just kind of snake bitten for him, but you could see the potential that the Missouri Tigers were very close to winning 8 games last year. And sure, every season there's a couple games you could point to and be like, well, if a few plays went this way, then this would be the result. But still, I just felt like anyone calling for Eli Drinkwitz to be fired or for the university to move on was just being ridiculous, because had you have done that, you would have missed out on this very special season. You would have missed out on a 10-win season just because you were a little impatient and didn't want to wait one more year to see what Drinkwitz could do. And this is why patience in the game of college football and in the world of college sports as a whole is very important. It's very valuable because, you could look at Gary Pinkel, for example, and some of the success that he had at the University of Missouri. Gary Pinkel and Eli Drinkwitz had very similar resumes through their first 4 years as head coach. And a lot of people were calling for Gary Pinkel to be fired after his first 4 years at Missouri. And sure, the game has changed a lot since Gary Pinkel became the head coach of the University of Missouri relative to when Eli Drinkwitz became the head coach at the University of Missouri. But here's the part that Eli Drinkwitz gets so much credit for from me, and something that can't simply be brought in through the transfer portal, is a culture. And Eli Drinkwitz has instilled an incredibly strong culture at Mizzou. The kids love playing for him. These players just totally have embraced Eli Drinkwitz as the head coach. The STP moniker, they've really lived by that all year long. And that's not something that can be brought in through the transfer portal. That's not something that just any head coach can do. Sure, you can have all these 4- and 5-star recruits at a big-time school, but if you're not creating a strong culture, then it doesn't matter. The results won't show. You don't have a team. And Eli Drinkwitz did a fantastic job. He hit it out of the park when it came to building a culture and being more of a program CEO. And I thought he made a lot of progress this year. He showed exponential growth as a coach by swallowing his pride and hiring an offensive coordinator. Even though he called the plays his first few years here, he realized that he didn't need to be doing that. He found the right guy in Kirby Moore to call plays. He nailed the defensive coordinator hire in Blake Baker a couple years ago. And Eli Drinkwitz has embraced that CEO role, just the president of the program. Eli Drinkwitz is the face of Mizzou football. Everything he's done, from recruiting to marketing this team to the fans and to the outside world and bringing in the right guys and sending the right message, he's done an awesome job. And I just hate to think that we could have missed out on all that because a few fans were impatient with him. And thank God that the athletic director, Desiree Reed-Francois, did not give in to the pressure and do something stupid like fire Eli Drinkwitz after last year, because I just thought he was recruiting very well. He's got the number one player in the country coming in this offseason to this program. And I just think there was still a lot of momentum with this program, whether people wanted to see it or not. There was still a lot of momentum, a lot of reasons to be optimistic. All this team needed to do was make a few tweaks to the offense, and I really thought they could have a special year, and that's exactly what happened. Because if you had fired Eli Drinkwitz, I don't think anybody that you were going to bring in after him was going to come in here and have a 10-win season. I just don't believe it. I think Eli Drinkwitz is the guy for this program. He proved that this season. He shut a lot of people up. I think he silenced a lot of his doubters. And sure, there may be traits about Eli Drinkwitz that you don't like. Maybe he's a little too loudmouth for you. Maybe he's a little too in your face. But I love that about him. Missouri needed a coach like that. I was tired of the typical old blue-collar guys that would come in here and they would have the personality of a barn door and they would try to win football games the old-fashioned way, and they weren't very good recruiters. Mizzou needed a spark like Eli Drinkwitz, and they really tried to hit a home run when they hired him, and now it's looking like it's a home run. So yeah, that was just me highlighting a little bit the job that Eli Drinkwitz has done here this year at Mizzou, but his case for SEC Coach of the Year. Their Vegas over-under win total was put at 6.5. They absolutely crushed that. Most sites were picking Mizzou to finish 13th in the SEC, which, by the way, is just extremely lazy. Every single year, there's somebody that picks Missouri to finish 13th in the conference, even though they barely ever finish that bad. Like, even in Missouri's bad years, they're typically 6-6, 5-7. Why do people still pick them 13th when they never finish 13th in the league? It's so stupid. But I digress. Missouri had a lot of doubters this year. There was nobody, not even a lot of Missouri's own fans, were picking the Tigers to go 10-2 this year, to win double-digit games and be in an NY6 Bowl. Not even our own fans were picking that. And I was an extremely optimistic fan for this team. I've been a believer in Eli Drinkwitz since day one. I never wavered from that. And even I did not predict Mizzou winning 10 games this year. I thought 8 games was probably where they were going to finish, and I was hopeful for 8 games. I thought 7-5 was the floor, but they just exceeded my expectations. In the past, SEC Coach of the Year or Coach of the Year awards in general, you look at the NFL, college football, whatever, Coach of the Year awards typically go to the team that a lot of people expected not to do so well, and then they just surprise everybody. And I joked about it in a more recent video, and I said the Coach of the Year award might as well be called the "Hey, we thought you were going to suck" award, and then you were really good. And a lot of people may disagree with that philosophy for giving out the award, but what I was going to say is that if that's how the award has been given out in the past, then there's no reason that Eli Drinkwitz shouldn't win it. I think it would be incredibly disrespectful for them to all of a sudden divert course and give the award to Kirby Smart or Nick Saban this year. Like, we thought those teams were going to be good. And sure, Alabama looked really disappointing to start out, and now they finished incredibly strong, and they're heading to the SEC championship game, and so people are going to say Nick Saban deserves Coach of the Year. But still, they're Alabama, and people had pretty high preseason expectations for them. So I don't really think Nick Saban should get the award. I still think it should be Eli Drinkwitz. And then I mentioned Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, how he could kind of sneak in there in the race, but still, people thought Ole Miss was going to be pretty good this year. I thought the absolute blowout win against Arkansas locked up the award for Eli Drinkwitz. I'll admit, I'm a little afraid that the 4th and 31 against Auburn in the Iron Bowl that Alabama won the game on might sway voters and make them think, you know what, let's just give it to Saban. Incredible coaching job. But again, it's Alabama, and they should have never been down this year to begin with. And sure, Saban does deserve credit for coaching one of his lesser talented teams to getting to this point. But I don't feel sympathy for Alabama because they started out the year rough, And I don't think Saban should be given the award because of that, because he reset Alabama's expectations to start the year because they lost to Texas. People doubted this Missouri team all year long. Even when they were waiting at the start, people go, yeah, well, they haven't played anybody yet. And then they went toe-to-toe with Georgia, and then they whooped Tennessee, they whooped Kentucky, and the Kentucky win continues to look better because they beat a top 10 team in Louisville on rivalry weekend. So I think it has to go to Eli Drinkwitz. I just think we're just trying to look for reasons to give it to anybody else if we don't give it to Eli Drinkwitz. As far as National Coach of the Year, the competition gets a lot tougher, and there's so many guys that you could give it to, and you couldn't really go wrong. Like Jeff Brom at Louisville, he's done a fantastic job. Not a lot of people expected that kind of season out of Louisville, although losing to Kentucky probably maybe loses him that award. David Braun at Northwestern has done an incredible job considering the circumstances there. Jed Fish at Arizona, no one really saw them coming. They were in contention for the Pac-12 title game there down the stretch. Jerry Kill, even at New Mexico State, they are not the cupcake that a lot of teams thought they were scheduling when they put them on their schedule. And then he goes in there and he punches Auburn in the mouth. He's done a fantastic job. So yeah, there's a lot of great candidates. But if I were to make a quick case for Eli Drinkwitz for National Coach of the Year, again, just looking at the expectations and how Missouri absolutely crushed everybody's everywhere. Also, I just think, again, the culture building and the way that he brought these guys together, it was a great coaching job. And having stories like Cody Schrader, who was the leading rusher in D2 and walked on at Missouri, and then Eli Drinkwitz coached him up to be the leading rusher in the SEC this year. The step forward that Brady Cook has taken, the step forward that Luther Burden has taken, the step forward that Connor Tollison took, the step forward that this entire offense took, the player development, the coaching, the actual coaching of these players has been amazing. And I think Eli Drinkwitz has a very strong case to make. You look across this team and how much it's improved everywhere. There are not many that have done a better coaching job. And to go 10-2 in the SEC and go toe-to-toe with Georgia, the best team in the nation. And they really should have won that LSU game, but that's the only other loss on their schedule. They whooped just about everybody else. Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, SEC competition. They beat K-State, who ended up having a really good year in the end. Memphis even went 9-3 this year, and Missouri pretty much beat them by multiple touchdowns. I know Memphis scored a touchdown in garbage time to make that closer. So Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz, hell of a year. It's unfortunate that they're just going to be right outside of the playoff looking in, and they're not going to get an opportunity to play in the SEC championship game, but man, they were close. They were very close. And if they beat LSU, you're talking about them being in the college football playoff, and nobody expected that from Missouri. If anyone thought Missouri was going to be in the playoff, it was going to be next year when it expanded to 12 teams, but there was a very real shot that Missouri made a 4-team playoff this year, and I think that deserves National Coach of the Year. So, yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on Eli Drinkwitz and why he should win SEC Coach of the Year and National Coach of the Year. But I want to hear from you guys down below what your thoughts are, who you think deserves each award, and if you agree with me, disagree with me. But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com for more. And I'll see you all in the next one. MIZ.